Coming up this week on Beyond the Vibe, we're joined by Cedric of Daxx and Roxane.
I had a bit of a weird story, actually. I started as a saxophone player. I personally like to see a live band move a bit on stage and you know, like interact with the crowd and all that. So we try to do as much as possible. But sometimes it can get a bit dangerous because Cal really goes all around the place. We were actually a thrash metal band when we started for 3 years. And as soon as we moved to UK, we wrote the song Ticket to Rock, and we were like, oh, that's actually the kind of vibe that we really like and enjoy playing live. And I think at that point, when we were, I think, 2013 or 14, the band was in UK and we were working a bit on some new material. I think that was the point where we were like, yeah, this is Daxx and Roxane.
Beyond the Vibe, the show that cuts deep into the world of music. Of course, like and subscribe and follow for much more content just like this. Of course, I'm joined by Aaron Day here.
And I'm joined by Mr. Ryan Vasey. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Vasey.
Yes, considering that it's also my show as well.
yeah. It's very good of you to join us on the show. Yeah. Obviously, this week on the show, as we do every week, we're chatting to a musician from the scene. It's Mr. Cedric, bassist and lead singer of Daxx and Roxane, which kind of got us thinking about, because for those that don't know, Daxx and Roxane are originally from Switzerland, made the jump over to Landonia. And it got us thinking about sort of Swiss and European bands. You know, I mean, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I struggle to think of a lot of European bands. You know, they tend to be a bit more German. Like, I love Scorpions. Yeah. You know, I kind of got a bit into Egg Guy at one point. You know, but it's all very sort of power metal and a bit on a different level. And I think Daxx have definitely got a bit of that in them, haven't they?
Yes, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of those kind of European bands is kind of real hard kind of power metal, and you know, it's metal, it's in that kind of circle.
Yes.
Whereas Daxx and Roxane, of course, are more kind of known for hard rock kind of vibes. But you know, as we'll go on to find out, they had their origins in other places as well.
Yes, harder places. Much more scary places, you know, which also seems to be a fabric with the sort of Swiss, you know, European bands as well.
Yes,
the heavier sort of side. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you look at it, I listen to a lot of mainly UK and US bands, and I don't know what that's about. Is it because I like to relate to that sort of culture thing because it's a closer thing? I think with the US, I fall in love with bands which are very reflective of that sort of culture. You know, like Blackberry Smoke, it's very southern. You know, It's
very American, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? It's like I know what I'm getting there a little bit, you know. And weirdly enough, Crowdlands is very Canadian, you know, in a different way because the whole Rush connection, you know. Whereas here in this country, obviously, Wagons are wonderfully British, you know, Pie and Mash, you know. So it's, I mean, what do you look for when you get into bands, right? Do you think about that, you know, all this band's from this place, that's interesting, or do you just listen and see where it goes from there?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I just kind of, I listen to them and it's like, oh, they so happen to be American or something. But you definitely get, you know, quite quickly.
Yeah, that's it. You can listen, you can sense a difference, a culture difference, you know, which I think is the awesomeness of music. There's something which is like we're playing these different genres, you know, similar genres, you know, hard rock and sort of classic rock, but you can immediately tell, oh, this is an American band, you know, this is maybe a European band, you know, or a Swiss band, which I think is really interesting, you know. So please comment below, you know, sort of your favourite European Swiss bands. You know, we found it quite hard, minus Crocus and sort of Celtic Frost. To
if you're looking specifically for Swiss, it's an interestingly difficult one. I mean, there's not many that come to our minds. So if you have kind of an underground Swiss rock band out there, you know, drop some comments below on that.
Yeah, but obviously, if you're here to check out one Swiss band in particular, that is Daxx and Roxane. Where can people hear that interview, Mr. Beatty?
People can hear that now.
A little
that's ideal
as well.
That's amazing. Where do you work? You look like you work in the nicest place.
I know, it looks fancy though.
Yeah, it's a really nice place. I've been working here for 2 years. It's called Vinyl Cafe.
Oh, nice.
And I work as a barista, barman, cook, I mean everything pretty much. But it's a nice little spot actually. There used to be actually Marshall Record just in front, but they moved out. So it's a cool little place. It's in Talyard, it's called. It's a lot of studios around here.
That's cool, man. So we're here joined fresh from, he's still at work. Still at work. He has finished. He's got a pint in his hand, and we're here with Cedric from Daxx and Roxane. Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah. Hello there. Thanks for having me today. Indeed, I just finished work. I'm just cooling off with a nice cider, Cornish cider, which is quite nice. So thanks for having me, guys.
No, absolute pleasure, man.
That's cool. So one thing that we like to do on the show is we like to kind of kick off by taking a look at the origins of a musician. Yeah. So when was the first time you remember hearing music and thinking like, this is what I want to do? Did you have like a moment? Was there ever a certain song? Or?
I don't know if it was a certain song. There might be a certain albums. I remember back in 2006, I had to do a trip back in Germany, and there was a time where we didn't have any iPod or whatsoever. I mean, with me, I had a CD player, and my friend Cal, the guitarist, he burned me 3 CDs from Metallica, the first ones. So there was Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. And at that point, I got 7 Hours to Kill, so I was just putting it in loop, and I was mind blown, and I said at that point, I think I want to be in a band. That's what I think for me. That's how it started. It.
So was you playing an instrument at this point? Because obviously, like, was you singing at this point? Like, how did that progression come?
I had a bit of a weird story actually. I started as a saxophone player. Wow. I was really not into. Funnily enough, I was really not into rock or metal at that time because I didn't know any of it until both Simon and Carl introduced me when I was around 14 years old. So I was a sax player for 7 years, and both of them were already playing guitar. So once I came back from my trip in Germany, we were like, hey, you know what? We were already hanging out for quite a while during those years. And we were like, let's start a band. It will be fun just for the fun of it. And at that point, there was no bass player and nobody wanted to play the bass. So I just jumped in pretty much. And the singing came many years later because we were trying to look for a singer for a couple of years, like 3 years. And at some point, we were just fed up of it. So I just decided as well to step in and sing for the band.
You wouldn't believe how common that is. Like this podcast is littered with people that are reluctant vocalists that end up being the front man.
yeah. It's really tough to find musicians, I must say, and singers in particular. But that's how it happens for us.
So was at that point where you, because obviously most people know you've obviously for Daxx and Roxane. At that point, was that the origins of the band, or did that form a little bit after that? Like, when would you pinpoint the moment when it was like, this, we're Daxx and Roxane, this is who we are, you know?
I mean, we started back in Switzerland, but we were heavily influenced by thrash metal from 2010, and we were actually a thrash metal band when we started for 3 years. And as soon as we moved to UK, we wrote the song Ticket to Rock, and we were like, oh, that's actually the kind of vibe that we really like and enjoy playing live. And I think at that point, when we were, I think, 2013 or 14, the band was in UK and we were working a bit on some new material. I think that was the point where we were like, yeah, this is Daxx and Roxane.
Cool. So going back to obviously the move, what made you decide to move to the UK from Switzerland?
For me was at that time I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. On my studies, I was doing my studies as a wine sommelier. As why not? You know, I like wines, but I wasn't fancying staying in Switzerland, and I wanted to travel. And all the guys as well, they were doing their own studies, and at some point, we just wanted to move together, actually, to move in together. But why not in London? You know, because there was a bigger scene in terms of it's easier to find gigs. Like if you want to play every day in a pub, you could do it. As is in those times in Switzerland, it was quite difficult to find gigs. So
right, that's interesting.
We just decided to make the move because we were young and stupid, I guess, and we just wanted to discover the world by moving to London. But I mean, it's just London, isn't it? It's not the world.
No, I still admire it though, man. I mean, it's a big step, which I think a lot of people listening probably wouldn't have taken, you know. And I think it's them big steps, if you look through history, that bands and individuals take that hope you get to where you want to be. I was going to ask you actually about the difference in the music scene, because obviously, even in this country, even though it's easy to get gigs, I think particularly before COVID, it's a little bit better now. It can be difficult to get people to come out. Like, what's the difference in Switzerland? Obviously, you said it's harder to get gigs, but would people come out and support more? Like, what's the main difference, would you find?
So I'm talking about 10 years ago. I don't know about now, but 10 years ago at least. There was a lot of metalcore, so that was kind of the scene there. In the French part, I think in the Swiss-German part, there is a bigger rock scene there. But unfortunately, we never really managed to go play there. Hopefully at some point we'll go back.
Yeah.
There's loads of festivals in Switzerland, but they prioritize more on bigger bands than local bands.
Right, okay.
So I think what we really enjoyed here in the UK is that, and you know, if you're a local band, like, the crowd would really support you and come to the gig even more, I guess, now than before. But that was the big difference for us, because we didn't really feel like a lot of support back in Switzerland, to be fair. Like
an actual core fan base, whereas obviously with stuff like the new wave of classic rock, you know, there's a real community and, like you say, a scene there that's thirsty for bands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm speaking about 10 years ago. Probably now it's better, I hope. But I do know that the Swiss-German part is definitely more into rock and metal than the French part where we were from.
Right, okay, that's interesting, man.
So the up-and-coming EP, Drop, which is out the 25th of March, when you had that collection of songs together and you kind of walked into the studio, did you have a certain vibe that you wanted to achieve? And also added to that, obviously the choice of doing the Stevie Wonder cover of the classic Superstition, like, that isn't like a regular choice for a rock band. So what was the idea behind all that?
I think, well, there was different ideas behind this whole EP. So we wanted to release, first of all, something in the meantime after our second album, because we released our second album during the pandemic, and we wanted to find a way to record, in a way to cut the cost, not to spend too much time in the studio, and try to do some home recording. So we actually recorded drums and bass in a studio, but as for vocals and guitars, it was back in our little home. So we managed to do something, I think, acceptable and good out of it. And the ideas of the track is just, we didn't want it to go with the obvious covers that, let's say, a rock band would do. Let's say like Highway to Hell, or, you know, those kind of covers. And just decided to do something a bit maybe challenging, I guess. I don't know. And these covers were, the heavy metal one, which is coming out, we actually really like that song. As for the Stevie Wonder one, we just wanted to do something, just a bit different, I guess.
How did you find the process of recording at home compared to recording in the studio? Did you prefer it? Did you miss that kind of intensity of working in the studio?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we did miss the intensity of having like sort of a deadline, and we need to complete these sessions as soon as possible. Otherwise, we pay more. But the process of recording home was actually really, really cool. Like, we really took the time for it, and we could really we didn't have like much stress behind it. Oh, sorry about that, guys.
It's all right.
Here we are. So the process of recording at home was very, very interesting, a bit more laid back. But I think for what's going to come up next, because we were planning on recording some singles and some hopefully a third album, we want to go back in the studio so that we feel the pressure again.
Yeah, that's cool.
When it comes to, you know, gigging and live shows and stuff, for somebody new coming to see the band, are there any kind of personal favorites for you that you'd like, you know, to play live? Any favorite
tracks?
Anything that you look forward to?
Well, for playing live, with the band?
Yeah, for playing live with the band.
I think we're really looking forward to play some more festivals, and you know, we just love to play in general, like live. So any like support slots or anything, like we're really looking forward to it. The main focus for this year is going to be to create some new content and releasing some singles. So we're also really looking forward to that, because we got this brand new studio literally next to my work, which is quite practical.
That's
yeah, it's really, really good. So we're gonna try to focus, take the time and write some new material, and during the summer have a couple of shows live, you know, and just play live music again. I mean, we haven't played for like 2 years, so it's nice to go back to it.
No, that's it, man. In terms of live, now obviously for people who haven't seen you, I remember when we did the live stream with you, which I think was kind of, we sneaked in, didn't we? Like in the middle of lockdown when it was okay to do it, we kind of sneaked in, and you guys happily supported us. And I don't think we'd gigged together before at that point. And one of the things I was really blown away with was obviously you and the boys' antics on stage. Because obviously you kind of, you know, roll over each other, you know. What was the origins with that? Did that just happen one day? Because if I said that to Hartwell, our lead singer, he'd look at me like he's going to smack me, you know what I mean? So did that come organically? Did you kind of plan that and want to offer something different?
I think it really came out organically, as you mentioned. It's just like we could never stood still when we play, because we really love playing, you know, music in general. So it just happened really. Like, you know, at some points we had a couple of ideas to make the show a bit more interesting. You know, like I personally like to see a live band move a bit on stage and you know, like interact with the crowd and all that. So we try to do as much as possible. But sometimes it can get a bit dangerous, because Cal really goes all around the place. So. But yeah, it came out naturally, really. And I think the fact is that we know each other for so long now. It's been, I know Cal for more than 20 years, and Simon as well. As for Luca, like more than 15 years. And you know, we are really, really, really good friends. I mean, best mates, brothers now, and. It's just natural for us. We're just having a good time and want to share it with everyone, you know.
No, I think that comes across really well on stage, Cedric. Definitely that connection between all of you, you know. And I think people see you as that sort of band, you know, where you're going to see Daxx and Roxane. You know, you're going to feel that sense of togetherness and have a good time, you know. In terms of yourself, as you said, you were kind of a saxophone player, and then you ended up being a bassist, and then like through pressure, you know, ended up being a singer. Like, you know, it kind of built up to that point, which is always really interesting, because I always, whenever we ask this question and people say that, I'm always shocked, because it comes across as a very natural role for yourself. Was there any inspiration you took around sort of that singer bass player sort of style? Obviously, like Phil Lynott, it comes to mind. You know, was there anybody in particular where you thought, this is the guy that I'm going to kind of look to as my messiah? Now I'm in this new role. I mean, the singing came much later, but at the beginning, when I was just playing bass, I really look up to Cliff Burton from of course,
Metallica. Yeah. And obviously afterwards, you know, with the singing and all that, like Geddy Lee is a big part. I mean, Lemmy from Motörhead.
Amazing.
You know, maybe Lemmy wasn't technical, but what a presence, and still he knows how to play bass. I mean, it's just 100%.
Basically a rhythm guitarist in Motörhead.
Yeah, it's just I was looking up to those guys, and I think the one track that really, you know, like helped me to, let's say, train on the vocals was Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin. We used to cover it quite a lot when we were kids, and Robert Plant was really a big help for me to improve, let's say, the vocal part, because at the beginning I couldn't sing as I could now, It was pretty shit, actually. I don't know if it's good now, but it was pretty bad. So
it's a good trial to set yourself, though, isn't it? Like if you're going to try and get better at singing, we'll just cover Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. It'll be fine. It's not like Robert Plant's one of the best vocalists of all time. You know what I mean? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, that's how we were. I mean, that's how we see we just like, let's set a goal. Let's just do it. We always find a way to go around it, but at the end managed to do it somehow. So like, I don't know how we managed to do the second album because we had no funds whatsoever. But thanks to the community and friends, we managed to pull it off. So yeah, amazing, just do it. That's it.
Now we like to kind of throw some weird questions at artists occasionally.
Yeah, I like those.
So hypothetically, for Daxx and Roxane's next album, you've got a gun to your head. You've been told you've got to put out another album, but it has to be another genre from what you've done before. What would that genre be?
That's gonna be funk all the way. Funk music straight away, no question asked. Because actually, we were planning to be a funk band at first, even a ska band. But
wow,
I love funk music. I'm a bass player, so I guess I have to love it.
Would you play saxophone on this funk record as well, Cedric? Would you go back to the sax days?
You know what? It's a shame I don't have my saxophone anymore because we had some ideas to actually put it into our tracks in the future. But
yeah, I love a bit of sax, man. Because you got to think Thin Lizzy had it on a couple of tracks. Pink Floyd would have a bit of sax in there as well.
Yeah.
So it's morally acceptable. So you've basically got the room there to have a play. I think we should set up a GoFundMe for you to get another sax.
I think
that needs to happen. The band, the community, the fan base has paid for the album. Now it's time to pay for the saxophone.
Yeah,
get it back in.
I don't know how I'm going to do that on stage though, but I'll give it a shot.
You have to get like a special stand or something,
Yeah.
Play bass and play a saxophone.
Yeah.
You'd be the first person ever to do it.
that would be interesting. But I haven't practiced for years though. But yeah, let's see. But funk all the way. I love funk.
Funk all the way. That's the headline. Now, one of the things we like to ask different artists, Cedric, is kind of, we all have different goals in bands. For me, I went to school in Donington, so for me playing like Download Festival would be a massive thing for me. Do you have any personal goals that you'd like to reach in the next 10 years, and where would you like the band to be in 10 years' time?
As you know, like Download would be fantastic. Just to be able to be part of a big festival like that would be absolutely fantastic. Or what's the name of the other one? Sorry guys, I just finished work.
No, it's cool.
A bit tired, but there's many festivals I would love to play in the UK, and one of my dreams I would love to go to play in America and all across Europe, of course, like many bands, LBAs. So yeah, ideally it's to have maybe a festival or support tour for a band and just tour. That'll be great.
That sounds cool, man. And obviously you mentioned before around sort of your excitement for playing sort of, tours and stuff, a bit of a tease around the third album. Do you have any shows coming up that people can come out? If they've not checked out Daxx and Roxane, they can come and check you guys out?
Yeah, we actually got one which is coming up next month on the 5th of March. If anyone's around London, we're going to be playing at the Underworld for just the opening night for a cover band. But it's going to be a great night. So we're just going to play like a 50-minute set. And then after that, we're going to listen to some old tune classics, rock and roll from cover bands. So it'll be really cool. So yeah, if you guys are around, come and check us out on the 5th of March at the Underworld in Camden.
Awesome. That sounds like, if you're definitely in London, that sounds like the perfect first way to get into Daxx. Like a 50-minute set, do you know what I mean? Before you kind of get into the band. So yeah, definitely go and check that out.
Now, a question that we like to kind of finish on. It's a bit of our signature thing. If you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
Oh, fuck.
You've got the time travel device. Everybody goes, oh, shit.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Bastards.
You could pick a specific era of a band if you like a certain era.
A certain year. I mean, I would love to tour. I mean, I would have loved to tour with Motörhead in the heydays, just to see how crazy it was. But because I do like to party, so I would be very interested in being in that era. Otherwise, and I mean, I'm a big Metallica fan in the early days, so I would have loved to see that. And I mean, there's so many bands. I'm a big Saxon fan as well, so touring with Saxon would be
great. But
crazy.
we don't get a lot of people say Saxon, man. I think Saxon are so underrated. Like, still kill it live. Such a good live band.
Fantastic. And Crocus, Swiss rock band Crocus. Yeah, that would be fantastic. And probably there's many more out there, but I couldn't think of.
If you're only going to pick one.
Oh shit!
You're only going to pick one. So it's your only chance. So you got to make a big decision.
It would be Motörhead. It would be Motörhead. I think.
Gotta be.
Just because I would have loved to see how it was like.
Just to hang around with Lemmy and Animal, you know, it'd be one of them, wouldn't it? It'd be amazing. And what about the band from the present?
I mean, with you guys, of course, that would be fucking fantastic.
It's about time someone said to me. Nobody's mentioned us in ages. Like whenever I ask this question, people always think they want to be too polite. But yeah, we'd fucking love to play.
Yeah, that would be sick. I mean, we only played one show together, I think, which was the your album launch, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was the album launch that we weren't able to do similar to you boys because we released the album in lockdown. So yeah, we were doing it as sort of a bit of a live stream. But yeah, I'll tell you what, because Ryan will tell me off if not. If you can't say this, is there any modern bands in particular that you enjoy listening to? Not just on the scene. Is there any kind of bands that you particularly enjoy? You know,
in the scene, I actually love currently. Rival Sons, they're really, really good.
Yes,
yeah, that's a big.
They're
big
a popular choice.
Yeah, Rival Sons. You know, Tyler Bryan and the Shakedown. I'll be very keen on touring with those guys. Massive Wagons as well. They're doing, you know, they seem like a really fun bunch of guys to hang out with. You know, and we never had the opportunity to actually play with them. We did once, but it was back in Ibiza for the Hard Rock Hell Festival. Their set was cut short because they had problem with the PA system, but they still managed to kill it. So, respect. And I don't know. There's so many great bands right now. I couldn't think of, but yeah.
I think Rival Sons is a solid choice. I think that's as Ryan said, that's a choice that a lot of people tend to go for because I think they're the next classic band, you know, sort of new classic band that will look back in 30 years' time and think, fucking hell, they were a good band.
Yeah, you know the last album was fantastic. I remember I was blasting it in the cafe right now. It was really good.
It's good.
I don't know if the customers enjoy, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fuck the customers, man. Yeah. You got to educate. Cool. Yeah. So we've got Daxx and Roxane opening. Then we're gonna have Rival Sons, and then we're gonna have classic Motörhead. I mean, it's pretty
solid gig.
It's making me do a face, but a sort of face. So
I think it will be a good one.
I agree. Cedric, thanks ever so much for your time, man. As we said earlier in the interview, Drop is obviously out Friday the 25th of March, the EP, to make people go and check that out. Follow Daxx and Roxane on Facebook, you know, YouTube, all the normal places, Instagram, and then you can make sure that you go out and catch them at a show and get the full experience. So yeah, Cedric, thanks ever so much for your time, man. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you very soon. Yeah, thank you so much for your time and thanks for having me, guys, and hopefully I'll see you as soon as possible for pints.
Yes.
Man, I'm so jealous you sitting there drinking that pint. It's making me very, very jealous. I've just finished work as well, and I'm just sat in the office, and I'm thinking, I'd love a pint of cider.